Good evening. I'm Ed Murrow. The name of the program is Person to Person. Tonight we'll be visiting with singers Eydie Gormé and Steve Lawrence in New York, and with columnist Abby Van Buren and her family in San Francisco. We'll be ready to go right after a word from Bob Wright.
Visiting people in their own home tells you a lot about them. You learn their tastes in furniture, food, in hobbies, even in cigarettes. And the cigarette you see in more and more homes these days is Kent, of course. That's because more smokers are changing to Kent than to any other cigarette in America. And there's no secret to why people are changing to Kent. It's Kent's filter action and flavor. Of all leading filter cigarettes, Kent filters best. And Kent's taste, magnificent, no less. You get the rich taste of the world's finest premium quality natural leaf tobaccos. Yes, it makes good sense to smoke Kent. And good smoking, too.
And now back to Edward R. Murrow.
Eydie Gormé and Steve Lawrence are two of the more popular young singing stars in the country today. Both are best-selling record artists, and over the past few years have appeared together and separately on various television programs and in many of the supper clubs. Less than a year ago, they became Mr. and Mrs. Steve Lawrence and continued their singing partnership, climaxed by a highly successful television show of their own this past summer. But the act sort of broke up several weeks ago when Steve was drafted. Instead of singing, he's now taking basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. Edie and Steve Lawrence live in this apartment building on the east side of Manhattan, about 60 miles from Steve's camp, and somewhat more intimate than Steve's Army quarters. Evening, Edie.
Hi, hello, Mr. Murrow.
Eddie's Private Lawrence.
Hi,
How are you?
How are you? Good evening.
Steve, how's basic training going?
Well, I still got a couple of weeks to go, but I'm doing pretty good.
Enjoying it?
Yes, very much.
Well, I'm delighted that things worked out that you could get home tonight.
So am I. The Army was very understanding. Since this visit was planned before I was actually drafted, they've worked it out so I could come home and do the show this evening, and I certainly appreciate it very much.
Me too.
Edie, it must be lonesome without a man around the house, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is, Mr. Murrow. I love Steve very much, and I miss him very much. We've only been married 9 months, and it's rather difficult to give him up so soon, but actually there is a very cheerful side to this story, and that is that I've been hearing the funniest Army stories in the world. And of course they have done something for him which I have not been able to do ever since I know him, and that is to get him to cut his hair. They have done it in one fell swoop, and I just love it. I thank them very much for this.
She does, really. The first day I came home, boy, I never heard so much laughs in my life.
No, I just love it. It's great.
Well,
I love the short hair.
Now that Steve's in the Army, Edie, does this mean you'll just go along on your own for a while?
Well, we have a very active organization, so to speak, and I guess I'll just keep it going as best I can until Steve gets out of the Army and comes home again.
Well, Steve, let's talk about your new career. What was the first day of the Army life?
Well, the first day, I guess, was a little confusing. I had responsibilities from the moment I was drafted. By that I mean I was made group leader of the bus going out to Fort Dix the first day, and as group leader, I'm responsible for everybody, all the enlisted men on the bus. I have to make sure that they all get their orders, and they all carry on them their orders for about 3 days, because they're constantly being asked their serial numbers and their orders. In addition to that, I had a whole stack of important papers that I had to give to an orderly as soon as I got to Fort Dix. I must have looked pretty confused, but I made it out okay.
Well, that trip out to Dix would have been quite a picture, wouldn't it, Edie?
Well, I think it would have been. I don't have a picture of that trip out to Dix, but I do have some other pictures I'd love to show you, if I might.
Good.
Steve and I, some time ago, or at least just when we first got married, decided to start a collection of baby pictures of all our friends. And the way we started it actually was when we asked our mutual manager, Ken Greengrass, for a picture of himself. And the one he sent me was one that won him a Charming Child contest at the tender age of about 6 or 7. And this is the picture of him here. Of course, he has a little less hair now. But nevertheless, it is very, very lovely. And this more or less inspired us to start this baby picture collection.
Mr. Morrow, this picture here, this is my favorite of the entire collection. This little girl at the, well, I think she was about 3 years old when the picture was taken, and she's the dearest baby in the whole world. She's my wife. This is a picture of Edie.
I didn't recognize her, I must confess.
Well, she has changed.
And this chubby little young man has changed considerably too, thank the good Lord. And this is my husband, Steve, at age 8 months? More or less.
Yeah.
Give or take a few months.
It was about 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, he's really cute.
I don't remember, but that's what my mother would say. Here's a picture that might be familiar to you, Mr. Morrow. This young gentleman, although at the time was not seen on television, but since then he's made many appearances. Do you recognize this?
No, I'm afraid I don't, Steve. All babies look like Winston Churchill to me. Who is it?
Well, he wears glasses today. This is our old television boss. That's Steve Allen.
Oh, of course.
He hasn't changed very
I can't recognize him without the glasses,
There
you
you
see.
go.
Yeah. He hasn't changed very much if you look real close, though.
Of course, we haven't quite finished this wall. You may notice some empty spaces, and we intend to finish it soon.
It ought to be an interesting collection when it's finished.
I think it will be.
By the way, how's the apartment coming along? Is it finished?
Well, no. We're on the road quite a bit, Mr. Morrow. We don't have time to really pay as much attention to it as we might, but this is one particular piece that I myself am responsible for. That was a very nasty laugh there. This is an Italian Florentine break front. It stands about 8 feet high, and it's about 7 feet wide, and this is the first thing that I bought for this apartment, and it really, I never thought it would fit in the apartment. I just loved it so much that I never even measured this wall. I bought it before I measured, thinking, well, maybe it'll fit, maybe it'll fit.
Had to stretch the wall a bit.
And it did. It just made it, and I just love it. We'll take this with us when we move or wherever we go, and I'm very pleased with it.
We don't have enough room, though, for all the wedding gifts that we got.
No, we usually keep our wedding gifts in here, but of course we don't have enough room in here for all of them.
Well, I hope you got presents that you can use, did you?
Oh, yes. We certainly did. I think all the presents we got are ones that we can use, but one of our favorites is this clock that was given to Steve and I by my cousin, who is a jeweler, and it's a very, very special atmospheric clock.
You know, Mr. Morrow, there's a cute little story that I'd like to tell you about this clock. My mother and father, the first time that they visited us here at the apartment, I was sort of taking them on a little tour of the place, and then I stopped and explained a little about this clock. See, it's very unusual. It's made by hand, and it takes about 9 months to assemble, and if they make one mistake, when they're almost through, they have to throw the complete clock out and start all over.
Your father wasn't very impressed by that.
No, I don't think he was. It's all hand-carved and runs on atmospheric pressure. You never have to wind it. And my father was looking at it, and I don't think he was too impressed, because he asked me if it was an alarm clock. And then he proceeded by telling me it was 5 minutes fast, which
And it was, and it still is.
Too much atmospheric pressure, huh?
I guess
Probably
so.
about 5 minutes worth.
That's a handsome piece of furniture you're leaning on there. Is that a wedding gift?
No, this isn't a wedding gift, but it's my favorite because I had quite a bit to do with designing it. This is the unit in which we house our television, our hi-fi, and radio, and it also serves as a room divider between the living room, Mr. Murray, where you are now, our dining area, and our very tiny little kitchen.
I can just see the kitchen. Steve,
Yes?
Speaking of kitchens, have you drawn any KP duty since you went to Fort Dix?
Well, as a matter of fact, I just did KP Monday. I guess they have a new system of KP now. You have to report a day early and check in for about 2 hours to find out what your job is. And then after you work with the man that you're going to replace for 2 hours, you go back to bed. And you tie a white towel on your bunk, see, so that when the CQ comes in to wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, he's the guy that comes in and wakes you up at KP. And he comes in about 3:15, and wherever he sees a white towel, he nudges the guy on that bunk and shines a flashlight on you and says, KP, come on. So there were about a half a dozen of us in my barracks this particular night, and he woke us all, and it was a very cold night, and, you know, very reluctant getting out of bed. But I finally got out, and this half a dozen of us went to the kitchen. We got there about 5 minutes of 4 in the morning, and we were all cuddling close to the stove to keep warm. You know, we were fighting for positions. I think we beat the cooks there by about 5 minutes.
To the kitchen or to the stove?
To both, I think. But it was very interesting doing KP. I did about 18 hours worth of it. I peeled 2 big stacks of potatoes and washed them and cut them. Opened about 2 dozen big juice cans and cracked a couple of 100 eggs.
This is the guy that wouldn't go down for bread before breakfast in the morning.
Well, you never made it an order, honey.
Well, that can be changed now, Steve. Tell me, going into the Army as you did from show business, did the men in your outfit tend to give you a rather rough time at first?
Well, I think every new recruit and enlisted man gets a certain amount of good-natured ribbing, I guess. But I wound up quite fortunate, I think, in my platoon, my company, my barracks. I think we've got some of the greatest guys in the Army, and I'm very happy to be part of it. Actually, they're from all over the country in all walks of life, and it's very interesting because we sit and trade stories all day, and as I said, very interesting. And after a while of wearing the Army uniform, which is kind of strange at first, you know,
yeah.
But after a while, you get to feel like you belong to one of the biggest teams in the country, and it's a very proud feeling that I have to wear the uniform of the United States Army. And the guys are just wonderful there, really, they are. Just great.
Are they looking at this tonight, do you think?
I think they have permission. I think they've secured permission.
Edie?
Yes.
I remember when we visited you in your parents' home when you were still single, and I remember a piano that you were in the midst of painting at the time. Did you ever get it finished?
No, sir. I never did get it finished, but I do have another piano that I'd like to show you right now.
Good.
If I might. This piano was gifted to me by my husband just immediately before we got married, and this more or less tipped me off that he was going to ask me to marry him because I don't play piano.
And I do, and I figured what would be the best gift to give your future wife? A piano.
Well, now that's what I call a very practical man.
I think so.
Is the piano still in tune?
Yes, I think it's very well in tune.
Yes, it is. You must have had it tuned.
I did.
Came in, huh?
May I come over?
Yeah, sure. Come on over.
Only plays in your key, Steve.
Yes, it does.
What are you doing there? Oh, I'll never make it. That's not my key.
Is that not your key? All right. How about another one in the same key?
Right. A fine romance, my friend. This is a fine romance with no kisses.
You're just as hard to land as the Ile-de-France.
I haven't got a chance. This is a fine romance. This is a fine romance. This is a fine romance. Fine romance. Fine romance. Fine romance. Fine romance.
Well, the piano's in tune, and so are you. Thank you very much. Steve, before heading back to camp, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, there is, Mr. Morrow. As I said a bit earlier, I believe my company secured permission to watch the show this evening. They have a little television set in the orderly room, but it's too small for the whole company to get into. So I think they took the set outside, and I think all the boys are watching out there. And this is where we generally march, out in the company area. And I believe the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th platoon are probably watching the show right now. So if I may, I'd like to say a special hello to the 2nd platoon, Company N, 2nd Training Regiment. Gentlemen, see you at Reveille.
And to the top sergeant.
And to all the top sergeants.
Good night, Edie. Good night, Steve.
Good night,
Mr. Morrow.
In just a moment, we'll take you to California for a visit with columnist Abigail Van Buren and her family. But first, a word from Bob Wright.
Isn't it interesting to meet, through Ed Morrow, somebody you've often heard about or read about? Well, it's also interesting to get acquainted with a cigarette you've heard or read about. I'm referring to Kent cigarettes, of course, because undoubtedly you've noticed that many of your friends have changed to Kent. You see, during the past year, more smokers have changed to Kent than to any other cigarette in America. And undoubtedly, too, you've read published reports which confirm the statement of all leading filter cigarettes. Kent filters best. You get less tars and nicotine than in any other leading filter cigarette. And if you want another good reason to get acquainted with Kent, let me say that Kent's taste is magnificent, no less. Yes, through Kent's exclusive micronite filter comes the rich taste of the world's finest premium quality natural leaf tobaccos. Why, with your very first pack, you'll discover what millions already have, that it makes good sense to smoke Kent, and good smoking, too. Now, no wonder, then, that more smokers are changing to Kent than to any other cigarette in America.
Now back to Ed Murrow.
About 2 years ago, the San Francisco Chronicle acquired a new columnist, Abigail Van Buren, and her advice to the lovelorn. Since then, the column has spread to more than 300 newspapers, and a book resulting from it called Dear Abby has been on the bestseller list for some 20-odd weeks. Across the country, Abby Van Buren's frequently startling and always refreshing remarks to the lonely hearts are, I am told, favorite subjects of conversation during the morning coffee breaks. Abigail Van Buren was born Pauline Esther Friedman in Sioux City, Iowa, where she grew up, and where 20 years ago she married Morton Phillips, a San Francisco business executive. Abby and Mort Phillips live in this house with their 2 teenage children, Jean and Eddie. They've lived here for 4 years in Hillsborough, California, a suburb about 30 minutes drive from San Francisco. Evening, Abby.
Hello, Ed.
Tell me, did you meet today's deadline, or are you still working?
Are you kidding? I never work evenings, Ed. My column work is done from 8 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. I never work on my family's time.
You mean it's possible to turn out a daily column as Abigail Van Buren without letting it interfere with Mrs. Morton Phillips, wife and mother?
I should say so, Ed. What you might call a career is actually my hobby. You see, my #1 career is my family, and I never let my career interfere with my hobby.
Well, it seems to me you've given good advice to yourself, Abby. Tell me, about how many people seek your professional advice in the course of an average week?
Well, when I first started, Ed, with the San Francisco Chronicle, I had just a mere trickling of letters, but McNaught Syndicate discovered me in about 2.5 weeks, and now my mail totals 8,000 letters a week. The best ones I can't print.
8,000. It sounds as though you must run a sort of love-lorn production line. How do you answer them all?
Well, I'll show you. Now, here I have this electric letter opener. You see that?
I see it. It looks to me as though you might shred them.
Isn't that wonderful? Well, they're all opened automatically, Ed. They're sorted, and my secretaries, I have 5 of them. I'll take you to the room where 2 of them who work here with me work every day, and every letter that includes a self-addressed stamped envelope receives a personal answer. And I might add that I'll work as long as an hour on one letter if I feel something constructive can be accomplished.
Well, now, what kind of good advice did Abby Van Buren dispense today?
Well, here's a sample of my day's work. This little girl is the reader of the Portland Oregonian. She wanted to know if there was a home for unwed mothers near Portland where she could go quietly to have her baby. She's 16. This letter is from a reader of the Los Angeles Mirror News. Could I send her a list of homes for the aged? This letter is from a woman who doesn't know her legal rights. She has no money for a lawyer. She follows my column in the Chicago American. Someone who wants to know about aid for the blind, Washington Evening Star. Another unwed mother, age 18, seeking help through the Denver Post.
Well, there are a lot...
Another letter, yes, inquiring about homes for unwed mothers through the Cleveland Plain Dealer.
Well, there are a lot of places for people to get help if they know where to go. Isn't that right, Abby?
I should say so. But you know, Ed, they aren't all as tragic. Now, here's a letter from a man who wrote me in care of the Milwaukee Sentinel. His wife doesn't understand him, but his bookkeeper does. And how about the one from a man from Minneapolis, Minneapolis Star? He wants me to help him find a husband for his mother-in-law. And here's a letter from a teenager who wrote in care of the Detroit Times. She wants to know what to do about square parents.
Tell me, are these, all the letters you answer, are they legitimate? Don't you write any yourself and then answer them?
Ed, I couldn't begin to write anything as good as what I actually receive in my morning mail.
Abby, how have Mort and the children taken to your sudden fame?
Let's go out in the patio and ask them.
Good.
Hello, darling. Hello, sweetheart. This is Mort.
Evening, Mort.
Hello, Ed.
And my daughter, Jean.
Jean.
How do you do, Mr. Morrow?
And our son, Eddie.
How are you, Eddie?
How do you do, sir?
Mort, after being married for some 18 years, how did it feel 2 years ago to suddenly discover that your wife was a celebrity?
Ed, my wife has been a celebrity to me for 20 years. Nothing has changed.
Gene, when you have problems, do you take them to dear Abby, to Mrs. Phillips, or to Mr. Phillips?
I take them to my mother.
Now, Gene, your mother has made quite a success giving counsel to several thousand people during the past 2 years. In general, what kind of advice does she give you?
Well, before Mother was Abby, and she was going to introduce me to someone, she'd always say, well, be sweet and be pleasant. Now she says, be sweet and be pleasant. And remember, act normal and well-adjusted.
Eddie, what's the uniform you're wearing?
San Rafael Military Academy, sir.
San Rafael. I'm glad you could get home tonight. How often do you get a pass, Eddie?
4 out of 6 weeks if my grades are B+ or better, sir.
4 out of 6 weeks. Have you missed many weekends?
No, sir, none yet.
Oh, congratulations. You must be quite a scholar. Now, soldiering being a man's game, I suppose you turn to your dad for guidance in military matters. Is that right?
Always. My dad started out a private, and so am I.
Mort, while Abby is getting accolades from her fans, I take it you're satisfied to get yours from your family. Is that right?
Satisfied, happy, and grateful, Ed. As a matter of fact, there's something in this next room that I want to show you.
What? Thank you.
This trophy was given me last Father's Day. It's about as near to a golf trophy as I'll ever get. Let me read the inscription to you. It says, presented to Morton Phillips, world's greatest father. From Gigi and Eddie, the world's best trained children.
How true, how true.
Now, isn't that better than a hole-in-one?
I agree. Abby, do you get a great deal of mail from youngsters?
Yes, I do, Ed. About 20% of my letters come from teenagers, and they all sound just like this. Dear Abby, I am a girl who is 14 years old, and I am desperately in love with a boy who is 15. When I see him in the hall at school, I say hi, and then he says hi. But if I don't say hi, he never says hi. Who should say hi first?
Well, now, how do you come up with the answers to these important questions?
Well, Ed, it's just horse sense. And as my good friend Dr. Franz Alexander says, horse sense can be found in a stable mind. Isn't that terrible?
That's good.
So
I like
really,
it.
Ed, I think that good behavior, knowing the right thing to do, is instinctive. All we need is someone to give us a push in the right direction.
What kind of people write you in addition to youngsters?
All kinds of people write to me, Ed, because everyone, if he's honest, has a problem. And I think that the business of living from one day to the next is just one problem after another. Most people just want someone to listen to them without moralizing or sermonizing or sitting in judgment. That's good therapy, just to write a letter and get it out of your system. Tell somebody.
You're probably going to get some more in the next few days. Abby, a few minutes ago you mentioned another room where you answer, a few thousand letters. Could we see it?
Surely. Now, in this room, this is my office, believe it or not. Isn't that something?
It doesn't look much like a workroom.
Well, I assure you, it's a veritable beehive during the daytime. I have 2 secretaries. They're both marvelous. Catherine Beale and Marjorie Eydie. They work here on desks that collapse, on IBM typewriters. There are letters strewn all over the room, and it's really a very, very busy place. But at night, when Morton comes home about 6 o'clock, I have the office dismantled. There is never a bit of evidence that any business has been going on, and that's the way we like it. You see, that's how I keep my career and my hobby apart and both successful. I want to show you something, Ed. You see this?
Yes?
This is my baby's booty.
Oh, my. I'll bet his feet hurt every time he looks at that.
Yes, that's Morton's infantry boot. He walked a lot of miles in this.
Good
Think of the other room?
Good old GI boot, yes.
That's right. Look, it's got the keys,
Yeah?
dog tag. This is his actual boot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I had the boot bronze.
Mort, Has Abby's career changed your way of living very much?
Changed my way of living? No, Ed. I'm teased a little bit about retiring for having a wife who's a successful working woman. And from time to time, there are those who refer to me as Martin Van Buren, but it hasn't changed our way of living.
Abby, it seems to me that you mix humor and witticisms with your advice. Isn't this a departure from what might be called the established love-lorn columns?
Yes, I suppose it is. But you know, Ed, I think that a good laugh is worth a lot. And laughter is good therapy. I do admit that I use humor to entice a lot of people to read my column who wouldn't be caught dead reading the advice of the love-lorn column, they've told me. But I slip in some good, sound, practical advice in the bargain. It's entertaining and it's constructive.
What do you really like most about being Abigail Van Buren?
Ed, I think I like the opportunity of reaching millions of people every day with a little horse sense. I think we could all use a lot of it. It's nothing that we don't know and never have heard before, but it reminds us of the things that we have to be reminded of.
Well, Abby, I can't say goodnight without asking you for some general advice. What do you consider a good formula for life? Briefly.
A good formula?
Yeah.
Well, as the last chapter in my book, which is all kidding aside, says, giving, I think, is the key word to real happiness. Because, Ed, if you aren't giving, you aren't living.
Thank you very much, Abby. Thank you, Mort. Will you say goodnight to the children?
We will, Ed.
Good night. Thank you for letting us come. Incidentally, Abby Van Buren's twin sister, known as Ann Landers, also writes a love-lorn column for the Chicago Sun-Times Syndicate. We'll be back in a moment. But now a word from Bob Wright.
I've enjoyed visiting Ed Murrow's guest tonight, and I've enjoyed telling you about Kent cigarettes. But there's so many good things about Kent that it's about this time in the program that I wonder if I've told you all of them. Now, let's see. I know that I've reminded you of all leading filter cigarettes, Kent filters best. You get less tars and nicotine in the smoke of Kent than in any other leading cigarette. And I'm sure I told you that Kent's taste is magnificent. No less. You get the full, rich taste of the world's finest premium quality natural leaf tobaccos through the free and easy draw of Kent's exclusive micronite filter. And I know that I've emphasized that more smokers are changing to Kent than to any other cigarette in America, and that's because it makes good sense to smoke Kent, and good smoking too. Let's see, yes, I've covered everything but this. Try Kent yourself. Good night.
Now back to Edward R. Murrow.
Next week, we'll be visiting with the president of Princeton University, Robert F. Goheen, and his family, and with labor columnist Victor Rozelle and his wife in their apartment here in New York. Those are some of the people who made tonight's program possible.
Person to Person is produced by John A. Aaron and Jesse Zausmer. And Edward R. Murrow.
And now, from Person to Person, good night and good luck.
Be sure to see Kent's $64,000 question over this same network on Sundays. The Edward R. Murrow Person to Person show has been brought to you by Kent Cigarettes. Remember, it makes good sense to smoke Kent, and good smoking, too.